Hello Hamilton, I'm here with Vito Sgro, a citizen with a bright vision for the city. For months we have been grappling with the issue of LRT and transit. With provincial government changing hands, we have now opportunities we need to explore and find a solution to the best alternative to a negotiated settlement. Vic, you had an interesting proposal about the LRT.
Yes, I did.
Did you present this to council and when?
Well, yes, I did. When the whole question was whether we end at the traffic circle or we go past that point, city was grappling what to do with the LRT. So at that time, I came forward and presented this new alternative to them.
Can you share that vision with us?
Well, of course, the vision is quite simple. It's not building it over the road system, but rather building it parallel to the rail system. Therefore, we are not replacing the road services that are underneath the road, but rather we are just building the transit system over top of land with no services underneath.
Now, I find it quite interesting that the LRT was extended from the Queenston traffic circle to Eastgate Square. The initial $1 billion in funding was meant to cover from McMaster to the Queenston traffic circle, was it not?
Well, initially it was actually supposed to go all the way to Eastgate Square. And then we heard that the funding was not sufficient and they decided to stop it at the traffic circle.
Now, can you share the proposal you shared with council?
Well, yes, the proposal is relatively straightforward. It is to start at Centennial Parkway where the GO station starts. This way it helps to fully integrate with the whole system. Therefore, now we can go along the rail system and not go through and ripping apart the city, dividing the city one more time with an artificial divide by having an LRT system that makes the city north and south in the lower part. But the city already has its natural divides as the escarpment and all other highways. This is now just adding one more division into the city.
Now, what's the initial starting point to your proposed LRT?
Well, the initial starting point actually is Centennial. And the reason it is Centennial is because there you are now able to start linking into the other road system, the other traffic systems that we have, transportation, so that we can now move the people through very quickly. We also fully integrate it with the GO system, but that being the starting GO train point in Hamilton that is soon to be built there.
With the understanding that your proposal has major linkages with other transportation networks, my understanding is your route starting at Centennial, is that not where the GO station will be placed? Yes,
exactly. We're standing right at where that GO station is going to be. So from that point on, we move parallel to the rail system, and as we move down the corridor, we do pass right over the Red Hill Creek expressway, so that now we can link directly into that. And as people are traveling from the mountain down the Red Hill, we are now able to fully link them, and they will be able to come either by bus or by car, but we will have a stop at that location so that they can get onto the new LRT proposal and then move into the city very quickly.
Now, Vic, I also understand that your new proposal has benefits to the community aside from transportation. Can you please share?
Well, yes, definitely. The vision here is to open up the industrial lands that have been laying to waste in the last decade or so.
The brownlands.
The brownlands, exactly. So this is what we'll help to do, is help provide a method and a transportation system to bring the workers into this new zone. Once you bring the workers into that area, then companies will come in and they will be able to bring their workers in there very quickly from either direction, because now they have a linkage into that area. The other way, the GO train system stops in Centennial, and the next stop is not really till downtown Hamilton, James Street, thereby missing the whole industrial zone.
So is it fair to say a lot of your thinking has historical linkages to Hamilton's industrial growth of the past?
Well, definitely. My whole work has been over the past few years uncovering the Hamilton incredible history as an industrial city, how this city developed and expanded over the past century, and then we have seen now the demise. It's very interesting and very symbolic. Westinghouse came into Hamilton in 1897. This is even before electricity came into the city. When Westinghouse came in, that was the start of the major industrialization and major development of the city, and the major growth of the city. Now we are seeing incredible rejuvenation of that. And in fact, the Westinghouse office building is now being rebuilt into a brand new office structure that will again employ hundreds of people in that facility. It is great to see that it's not going to be just another condominium or another place for people to sleep in and then commute into Toronto. We do not need a city of residences to be a bedroom community for Toronto. What we need here is jobs. So what has to happen is this incredible opportunity before us is important to develop jobs. We need that to be the catalyst for future creation. It is not sufficient for this community to say we're going to have 5 years of incredible growth during the construction phase of the LRT. What happens afterwards? That's what we need to be the catalyst for. You can take a look very close, very simply down the Niagara Peninsula. QEW was built there years ago. And all around it, what did we have? We have businesses, we have residences, all happening around that. If we build the current LRT through King Street and Main Street, what is going to be happening is we're going to be trying to drive it in there. What's going to be built there? Well, we are going to get a lot of condominiums and some little businesses underneath. Those businesses do not generate enough work that we need. We need to really use our asset effectively. And our asset is all of this brown lands that have laid waste for years. We need to get that land back into production to start producing taxes for us, commercial taxes.
So now the $1 billion cost of the current LRT plan includes significant cost to underground infrastructure. How does your proposal differ?
Well, the proposal is very simple. Since we're running parallel to the rail land, that only needs roughly 20 feet width. So this is relatively simple for us to propose to the city to acquire 20 to 30 feet of land next to the tracks and lay another set of tracks. We're laying tracks on top of ground. We're not digging services underneath. We're not replacing services that have been replaced in the past 20 or 30 years, and those services can survive for another 50 to 80 years. Meanwhile, we are now building simply on top, and therefore this will reduce significant cost to the construction of this line.
If we're not spending a majority of our funds along the King and Main corridor, which have been upgraded, then we can turn our attention to the century-old neighborhoods that are struggling and in dire need of upgrading, correct?
Well, correct. If you take a look at really the area around Westinghouse plant office that I'm telling you about, that is the epicenter of the major development that is now over a century old. We're talking 120 years old. The services there are grossly in need of upgrading, and there are other parts of the city as well. So instead of fixing or replacing services that are good for 50 to 80 years, we can now turn our attention and deal with areas that are in dire need and help the citizens of those neighborhoods rather than replacing something that can still function for a very long period of time. This is clearly a waste of money, replacing services that don't need replacement.
Agreed. Now, I know we touched on it earlier, but Hamilton has one of the highest property taxes in the country. Does your LRT proposal, the V proposal, does it have any benefits to impact property taxes?
Well, yes, definitely it does. The problem with Hamilton's tax base is that with the decline of the industrial zone, the brownfields, we have lost the commercial or industrial base tax base. As a result, our taxes have to be spread across only the residential portion. By doing that, our effective mill rate is significantly increased for the residential proportion because there is no commercial point. So by building the proposed new LRT line that would go right through and service the industrial land, we will impact that area for redevelopment and bring businesses back in, thereby increasing the commercial tax base, and in effect we will be reducing the property tax on the individual residences that we're facing right now.
Now, the city is currently fragmented both by various geographical divides and man-made divides. What will the current LRT do to the city versus yours? How will yours differ from the current LRT?
Well, this city, like a lot of cities, has certain geographical divides. Of course, we've got the mountain that we can't do nothing about. The rail line that we're talking about right here, that's between Barton and Burlington Street, is a divide that's been there for the past century. However, the line going down Main Street and King Street is not a divide. So when you put the new LRT through that line, through that area, now you're going to be dividing the lower city again into a north and a south and the industrial zone. So you now have 3 zones versus having 2 zones.
So now, jobs typically associated with the brownfields that we were planning on running these lines across, they have spin-off jobs. Your proposal, Vic, will make it easier for workers to get to and from their jobs, both locally and regionally, correct?
Well, correct, definitely. The proposal links us directly into the GO system. So as the GO system starts expanding further towards the Niagara region, workers coming in from the Niagara region will be able to get off at the Centennial spot, get onto the LRT, and move around the city very easily. This is also linked with the complete reintegration of the bus system. So it will only take a few minutes for a bus to take you from the LRT over to Main Street or to King Street, even downtown. It's not going to be a significant extra time there. The important thing is full integration of all of the transportation systems into a seamless transportation, that everything is timed so that when the LRT pulls up, there is a bus waiting there at that very moment.
So now, a big myth around the city right now is the current LRT proposal has already incurred an expenditure of $100 million. What is your accounting take on this?
Well, an expenditure is an expenditure. An expenditure is not necessarily an expense. It is not fully utilized until it is utilized for the intended purpose. So you paid for a study. That study is an expense because you've expensed it. Now you can repurpose that expense to a little bit, tweak it over so that you can still use that study. However, if you purchase an asset, such as a building, as LRT has been purchasing a lot of property already, or should we say Metrolink's been purchasing a lot of property, that property is not an expense unless it is fully utilized directly into that and you have no other potential use for it. So it is an asset to you right now.
I was going to mention, so especially now with the current real estate market, is it safe to assume that these assets could be worth more?
Definitely they could be worth more. So as the market increases in value, the Metrolinks may have spent $50 or $60 million acquiring properties. These properties are assets. So if we do not need them for this, maybe for the LRT to run through that area, maybe we can repurpose that use of those properties. For example, housing. This may be able to be now used for housing to relieve the pressure that we have for low-income housing. These are properties that are there now. We are displacing people out of their homes because these type of properties are currently occupied by low-income residents. These people are now being displaced and they have no place to go. There is the rental protection that they've had in these properties is now gone to them. Now they have to go and find new rental properties. So this is now causing multiple problems. But the key point is, properties owned is not an expenditure. That money, that is a physical asset that you can turn around and sell it. And as we have been seeing as you've indicated, George, in the current market where real estate has been going up, these properties may be actually worth significantly more than what was paid for. And that money is not really has been expended.
I want to thank you, Vic Georgievich, for sharing your vision on the future of our city.
Thank you, George. This is a great opportunity for me to share my passion for the future of this city and to hope that my little bit of contribution here will inspire the whole city to expand into a new direction.
Thank you. In closing, we need to develop a win-win situation. In our current scenario, we have winners and losers. As your mayor, I will bring this city together through dialogue and innovative solutions. Let's create and innovate. On October the 22nd, vote George Rusich.